And we're live. And I'd like to apologize to all of our viewers who are waiting for us. We had some technical difficulties getting everything fired up tonight. So we would like to welcome all of you to the CouncilCast and episode number 37, which is being recorded on March 13th, 2018. The council is now in session, and as with every week, we'll make arbitrary decisions about topics on science, technology, and random shit with little and no background or expertise on any of these topics. All CouncilCast decisions are final and have no bearing on anything whatsoever. So we'll go ahead and get started tonight with our first topic on the rundown, which is in the science category. We have science tonight. Yippee! So it looks like Silas is just falling out here.
Woohoo!
We got a great picture of your face now. But anyway, we're starting off with some science here where you can
I thought my video feed was getting in the way, so I turned it off. So you just get me smiling there in the corner.
Good. For our audio only podcast listeners, you just can imagine a beautiful smiling face of Silas every time he talks, which is about what everybody sees if you're live tonight. So So tonight we're talking about NASA wanting to fly you into the sun. And what I mean by you is I actually mean sending your name. So I found this online just this last week where NASA has apparently put together a satellite that I think we've known about this for a while, but it's going into this. It's going to the sun and it's going to do some experimentation, and I believe it's actually going to be the closest flying to the sun satellite that they've ever sent. And it's called the Parker Solar Probe. So it's scheduled to launch next year. And if you want to be amazingly awesome and go get burned up inside the sun, you can actually put your name on a microchip that they will be sending with this thing. And you can have your name actually go fly into the sun when it does this and be left there for forever for all the aliens inside the sun to find. So if you want to do this, you can, I believe,
I
just
love
go to NASA's
so
website.
much that William Shatner is like doing this video to tell people about how to sign up.
I mean, you too can be William Shatner and go send your name into the sun. Nothing better than that. But they have the link you can go to is go.nasa.gov/hot ticket. And you have until April 27th to sign up to put your name on it. And it will, I believe it doesn't actually get there yet. It doesn't get there until December of 2024. So you have a few years until your name burns up. But I think this is pretty cool. You can get a nice little plaque. You can probably frame this, hang it up in your office or something. I think everybody will think you're pretty cool, man.
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely do that. That sounds amazing.
So everybody should go sign up. I think I did this for like something maybe like 5 years ago. There was something similar where they were sending something to Mars, maybe, I want to say. And I could put my name on it. I think I threw the paper away immediately after signing up for it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Silas is just going to have to tell us what he did because I cannot see him anymore.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. All right. It's pretty sweet. I mean, it's pretty hot if you think about it, but not as hot as loot boxes. So if you remember from a few weeks ago, we had talked about loot boxes and how everybody is now adding them to games, how crappy they are. It's kind of like gambling. And apparently it's gotten so hot and heated that everybody, including... So, yeah, including the ESRB, that they are now going to start labeling You know, the ESRB, those are the guys who kind of put the little ratings on your video game boxes that say like M for mature or something like that. That all of the 13-year-olds have their parents buy for them anyway. But they're going to start labeling any games that have in-game purchases, which would be something like loot boxes, where you actually have to spend real money to get an unknown quantity of something. And they'll start labeling them on all of the packaging for games, so that I guess just like kids who complain about getting MA mature games, they can now tell their parents that, yeah, I need to get this one because I have to pay, and I have to pay more money for it because I need to have all the things.
Huh.
So I guess I'm not really sure how this is going to help anything. I mean, it kind of raises the awareness a little bit more, but I'm not really sure if it's going to give or prevent anybody from doing it, from buying it, or really raise it enough. Let's put it that way. Like I said, I mean, you kind of already know a lot of the ratings nobody listens to, at least in America. So
Right. They're just for show, and people are gonna take these games and they're going to essentially off the grid. We might as well just open up a bunch of underground gambling parlors and put a sign outside that says this isn't legal, but you know, don't worry about it because the cops aren't here. That's my stance.
I mean, I think, yeah, it's a good idea. I think it's a stamp that says, "Hey, we meet the letter of the law," but and you know, look, we're trying, but I don't think it's really people trying hard enough. And I think an interesting thing too is now if they're going to start labeling things, you know, how long until you go buy a game and the front of the box is literally just a label with all of the warnings and explanations on it. What game did you buy? Well, shit, I don't know. I just bought the nudity plus gambling game. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Nobody's going to even know what the name of the games are. They're just going to be like, oh, this one is great because it has like 40 nudity ratings, 25 gambling ratings, basically 1,000 stickers that say people die in this. You know, and the backside is just literally blood. They literally have all the blood drooling down the backside. That way, you know, this game is good. We're not sure what the name of the game is. We have to put it in our system before it lets us know. But
but it sounds awesome.
You know, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting idea. I think the loot box thing still nobody really has figured out yet. But it seems like some developers are maybe starting to back off a little bit about putting them in, or at least being a little bit more upfront about what they are with all the backlash from whatever it was, Battlefront 2, when that initially came out. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, with that, did they have the opportunity did you win something every time? It just wasn't always super great? Or was it that sometimes you would open the box and there would literally be nothing inside?
I think you would still get something, but I think that, and I think the biggest issue with all the loot boxes is that there's the complaint that if you're paying real money into this thing to try and get something, you have no real guarantee, and they don't publish the odds or chances of you being able to get the particular item you want. And so the expectation is you just keep buying and buying and buying and buying, and it may be something that you only get 1 in a million times, but you know, shit, buy 1 million boxes and then the developer will be happy because you spent a bunch of money. So yeah. I think it goes, you know, everybody's kind of going along this whole lines of, is it gambling? Is it not gambling? Just because we don't really know what that reward structure kind of looks like. And it just requires you to keep paying money. Who doesn't like keep paying money into games? I wish we could just go back to the point where we could just have games that were solid, developers supported them, they worked when you actually bought them, and you didn't have to pay a shit ton of extra money for it. But, you know.
Right. It's like, it just reminds me of that episode of South Park when one of the kids started doing a lot of iPad games and spending a ton of money to keep opening things and unlocking things and doing loot boxes, etc. And they're like, you have a problem. And then the grandpa had a drinking problem, and the dad had a gambling problem, and they're like, yeah, but my problems aren't real problems. Your problems with this iPad is the real problem. I don't know. It just makes me think of that. Nothing really important to add.
No, I think that episode of South Park is exactly on point here. It's exactly what we're talking about. So I highly recommend you go check that episode out if you haven't seen it already. I'm going to give the whole topic a thumbs down because I think loot boxes are still dumb, and if we need to start, then we probably should rethink about what we're doing.
I'm doing a thumbs down as well.
Awesome. All right.
In spirit.
In spirit. Next off in our rundown here on the left side of your screen there, for those of you who are audio only, can't see it, you're just going to listen to me a little bit more. We now have Microsoft Windows 10s is becoming a regular mode for Windows. So I thought this was interesting. I think everybody who's familiar with Windows, the last generation, Windows 8, in their last version of tablets, there was a version of Windows called Windows RT, and it was a total flop because all it did was run on ARM, and it never really worked well. Now, they've kind of revamped it, and they've come up with this Windows 10s version of Windows 10, which, as far as I understand it, it was kind of a standalone product. It came for free on a lot of kind of laptops or something that you would maybe get through like an educational store. And it was kind of just like the cheap, really pared down version of Windows, kind of designed to be a lightweight competitor to the Chrome OS. And apparently now Windows is saying, there's a lot of limitations to it. Now Microsoft is saying, well, we're going to actually, instead of requiring you to buy a laptop, you have Windows 10s, then you have to pay for, I think it was like $50, you could actually upgrade to the full version of Windows 10. They're actually just going to say, well, we're just going to get rid of that whole thing altogether and make it a mode of Windows 10. So if you're running Windows 10 and you want to just activate this special mode to kind of pare it down, make it lightweight, maybe you're a system administrator, or maybe you're a parent and you want to give it to your kid, but you don't want to have full access to the computer, you can just kind of turn on this mode and power it up, and away you go. So I thought this was interesting because...
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I thought Microsoft, in my mind, I thought they were kind of doing the right thing here. Instead of making their Windows 10 SKUs even more complicated and even more, what the hell are you buying? They're just saying, screw it, you still have Windows 10. If you want this mode, you have a mode. And I believe anybody who already has a computer that has Windows 10s today, you will be getting a free upgrade, I think, to regular Windows 10 at this point in time. So it's kind of a nice thing, and I think it's a cool feature. Not really useful in kind of a home setting, I would say, but more for like those businesses and schools who are trying to lock down a lot of the software. I think this is a good way for them to kind of get into that market.
Right. Yep.
So
I think that overall that's going to be beneficial in saving schools money and being able to have really good operating systems for the things that they need to do. And I don't know. I mean, I might be missing something here really big, but overall, I would just like right away before we even dive into this one, just give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And yeah, I haven't used Windows 10s or Windows 10s mode, whatever the heck they're calling it. But truly, if it really is a competitor to Chrome OS, I see that you start seeing that a lot in schools, and even kind of some older people who just don't want to deal with, are my drivers updated on Windows? Do I have the right software? Do I have the right this? Does this going to work? A lot of people just want to be able to sit down, plop down, log in, do some quick web browsing or whatever it is, and away they go. They don't need a super powerful computer or operating system. So I think it's a really good option for those people to kind of use, and if it can compete with Chrome. I mean, Chrome OS, I think, in schools is really, really popular. I think that's really taken off. Part of that's probably because of how cheap those devices are, but I think this is kind of Microsoft saying, "Hey, I want kind of in on that too." So I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think that it falls in line. I'm giving it a thumbs up as well right now. I think it falls in line with that same topic that we talked about last episode, where we looked at the high-speed gaming on Chromebooks. I mean, if they're able to do that, why not have a quote-unquote fully functioning operating system that is essentially web-based at that point? So I don't know. Nice job, Windows. Hopefully don't screw this up.
Yeah, we can hope. It's always a good chance. So moving on to our next topic in technology, I thought this was kind of an interesting article. The FBI, again, this is really nothing new, but since we've rebooted the podcast, this is really kind of the first bigger topic that I've seen come out. But the FBI again is calling for a mythical, what I'm going to call a mythical solution to breaking into encrypted phones or just encrypted devices in general. And I wish that some of the more security conscious people are here, so I'm going to absolutely butcher this whole topic. But the whole point of this, I believe, is that I think with the latest iPhones and some of the latest Samsung and Android devices coming out, a lot of them have started to actually encrypt the operating system by default. And so it's caused a lot of problems for the FBI or police when they go and start trying to, investigate people or whatever it is. They can't actually get into their devices or read any of the data on their devices because it's all encrypted. And so the FBI keeps asking for a backdoor to kind of these software systems that allows them to break into the encryption without actually having to break the encryption. But at the same time, they want to have this backdoor, but they also want it to be absolutely fail-safe so that no hackers can obviously use it as well, which
right is impossible, right?
It just sounds impossible. Exactly. Give me a backdoor, but also prevent nobody else from using it. That makes no sense.
Yeah, that's probably one of the that's like a question I would ask about computers. Not the FBI. Come on, people, get your act together.
I mean, it's a great idea in theory, but it's just like if it exists, somebody is going to get a hold of it and somebody's going to break it. People can break the encryption, some encryptions today without any keys just by doing a lot of interesting information with it. So, it's how much easier would it be for those people to get?
Why don't they just use why don't they just build a password that you have to use LastPass and give the FBI the last password so that they don't ever have to use a different one, and then they can just get into all the phones. Easy, sorted.
And they could just send that LastPass master password to everybody, blast out in a big email chain to the rest of the
big blast email, just to all the people who need it. Just to the people who need it.
Just the people who need it. Exactly.
Super simple. I like this plan. You know what, FBI? I know that you're listening because we've said FBI now several times. Just use this plan, and we don't need credit, but if you would just, also in that email, send out our podcast so that the rest of the team can just listen to all the cool things we talk about, we'd appreciate that. Thank you.
There you go. So I'm going to give this a thumbs down because I think that this is a very terrible
thumbs
topic
down
to go down. So
thumbs down all the way down.
Cool. Well, speaking of the government, the FCC has
won't let me be or let me be me, so let me see. Sorry, I just had to do a little Eminem there for a second.
Shit, now we're gonna get taken down. But anyway, so recently, I think as everybody knows, net neutrality is kind of going away or potentially going away, and everybody's kind of freaking out about this because the FCC said, yeah, we're going to change it thanks to Ajit Pai. or I'm assuming that's how you say his name, but Washington State, in response to all of this, has now said that they're going to pass a law protecting net neutrality. So what they're basically saying is that they're going to kind of, and I don't even know if this is possible, but they're going to overrule the FCC's decision and basically enforce net neutrality in the state of Washington. And they passed
Oh,
this back in
good.
February.
Well, there you go. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of other states are kind of working on it. This article that I had linked here, it does talk about 5 other states: Vermont, Hawaii, Montana, New Jersey, and New York, that have previously decided to also enforce net neutrality via executive orders. But this is kind of going an extra step further and basically prohibiting ISPs from blocking or throttling internet content and applications at all. So it can't be anybody who's just operating in Washington, anybody who provides service to Washington, it sounds like.
So this is... I'm very confused about. It's been such a long time since I've actually sat down and looked at the net neutrality argument. Is what they're doing? Is what Washington State is doing something to fight against what the argument has been in Washington, or is it in support of the people or big business? I guess is the question that I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, so net neutrality is supporting net neutrality is in support of you as a consumer and more than likely small businesses versus large businesses who can pay. So for the understanding of a little bit
got it.
Net neutrality basically says that the net is neutral. You can't have fast lanes. You can't pay for expedited access to your users. It mainly applies on the ISP side. So it's basically saying that, a company can't come to an ISP and say, well, you want access to our users at a faster rate, i.e., like, say, Facebook wants access to everybody. They want their pages to load faster than everybody else's page. They can't pay to do that.
Yeah.
Where with the disbanding of net neutrality at the FCC level, it doesn't necessarily allow for that explicitly, but it certainly doesn't say you can't do it either. And so the concern is...
So here's my bigger question then is, how does Washington State enforce this? Because, I mean, internet is
Right.
not, as far as I can tell, the internet is not divvied up by state, like with a measuring cup or something, like, oh, here's your internet for the month and here's your internet. Like, it's a much more complicated system than that.
I think that's a great question, and that's something when I read this, I wondered that too, is, how do they police this type of thing? And I've got to imagine that if you're an ISP and you're operating across state lines, let's say you're providing it in Washington and Oregon and in, I don't know, Idaho or whatever state is right next to Washington, I would imagine that they would have to have something that if you're signed up for them and you live in that state of Washington, then any current contracts that you have with other companies to prioritize internet, you would have to just turn that off. Now, I don't know if they can do that or not. To me, it seems like this would be something that they would have to, if you're going to comply in Washington State, you also are probably going to have to comply elsewhere. You can't really, like you said, divvy it up depending on which state or which area you're in.
Huh. Well,
I think it's
something
good
that people are going to have to work on, huh?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of pans out, and if anybody else or any other states kind of pass a similar law or legislation. So, keep up the free internet, right?
Yeah, a free internet is the best internet.
Free and open internet. I like it. Hopefully, faster internet in some other countries too.
I'm just reflecting on this a little bit right now, that I really like this no picture thing, because I'm kind of feeling right now like I have a face for radio, and this no video thing is really helping that as an option for me. Anyway, I'm going to give the thumbs up to Washington State.
I'll give it a thumb up
nice
as well.
job.
That's awesome.
I'm in support.
I think with you just being this face and this disembodied voice on the other side of the podcast, I think you really are making a case for a radio voice. People can just sit back and relax, and listen to the classic stylings of.
They don't have to see my awkward facial expressions through incredibly pixelated images over the free internet that we have currently. So.
Yes, exactly. So our final topic for tonight, moving on into our other cool/weird shit, is throwing a needle through glass. So I don't know.
This is incredible.
Did you watch this video?
No, but I know the slow motion guys, so I can only imagine. I tried watching it beforehand, but my internet is so bad that I figured it out. Welcome to the podcast.
Yay, welcome.
He can't hear us.
So
I started to watch watching, but my internet was so bad that I couldn't. So, that's the thing.
Hey, we heard you.
Yep, you're connected. We can see you. We're on the last topic, so you got here just in time.
Cool. Yeah, so kind of like you were saying, the slow-mo guys did this, and they're talking specifically about Shaolin monks and their ability to throw a needle through a sheet of glass. So I thought this was really cool because I was half expecting to hear or see the actual needle go through the glass, but if you watch the video, I think that the title is a little misleading. Because the way that it works...
So tell me what happens, because I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, so what they do is they do have a sheet of glass, and they put a balloon right behind it to show that the needle goes through it. But what actually happens is that as they throw the needle at the glass, it does break the glass. It does put a little bit of a crack or a hole or a chip in the glass, but it's actually the glass that blasts out the backside of that glass that breaks the balloon, not the actual needle going straight through the glass panel. So it's kind of like they throw it, it hits the glass, and then it blasts out the back with some recoil, and then the needle just flies back up kind of at the dude who threw it. So it's not quite as exciting as I was hoping for, but still pretty darn cool if you ask me.
I mean, I don't know that I could throw a needle and make anything happen unless I threw it at like somebody's face, and then I might make them cringe or cover their face. That's about all I could probably do.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is that, or the hard thing to do is that this guy throws it so that the actual point hits the glass. I would probably be there standing it and throwing
That's
it so
ridiculous.
that the side of the needle hits the glass and it just can't do anything. Kind of like knife throwing. So anyway, cool video. Check it out if you want.
I give it a thumbs up, even though I didn't get to watch it.
I give it a thumbs up. Slow-mo is awesome to watch.
I did get to watch it, but it reminded me of when a guy caught a bullet in his teeth on TV. Not sure that happened either.
Good point. Good point. So I think
thumbs up from Silas.
Give it all thumbs up. I like slow-mo guys. I like watching their stuff, so it's pretty cool. I do remember one of them recently that they did of a CRT monitor. I don't know if you saw that, Silas, or if you guys saw that at all, but they
with the video games.
Yeah, so with video games, they did a slow-mo of a CRT monitor. So you know how a CRT works with the electrode ray, and so it literally is just a single beam. Each pixel is lit up individually, extremely fast on the TV screen. And so unlike an LCD, which displays about half the screen and then half the screen, but it's actually a little beam that goes back and forth really, really, really fast. And they had slowed it down so much that even at the slowest frame rate that they could do, it still looked like it was going really, really ridiculously fast.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty crazy.
That's cool.
It's some pretty cool stuff. So that pulls us to the end of the council cast for tonight. So with that, the council meeting is adjourned. And we appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. And if you liked what you saw and want to check out all of our past episodes, you can go to councilcast.org, where all of our podcasts are stored, and we are recording them live on YouTube. And you can also find the audio files on iTunes. If you have a topic you'd like the council's decision on, you can email us at councilcast@gmail.com or connect with us on Twitter at the CouncilCast or Facebook by searching for CouncilCast. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Hey.